Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see you tonight. Nice to see you nice, as Brucey used to say. I am hoping that I am going live. I'm just so now. There we go. I've muted myself so I'm not repeating it in stereo again because as you know that's what happens. So, but I can see that I'm live. I can see that it's all working and everything's happening as it should. So that's great. Hopefully you've had a chance to work through last night's. If you haven't, if you're coming to this fresh tonight and you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to start on tonight and carry on and then I'll go back and do yesterday's, don't. Not because I don't want you here. Obviously, it's always lovely to have people here, but you need to do last night's before you do tonight. So if you haven't looked at last night's, go back and do that. It's the same link that I sent out. You've had it multiple times in various emails. It's the same link to join the live is now the link to watch the live, is to watch the replay. So there's no different link. You can just click back on that, catch up from last night, do the things from then, and then you will be at the same place and we can go from there. Okay. So I think that's quite important that, yes, it would be lovely to have you, but don't dive into this one until you've done the one before. So I think what I'm going to do, because most people are watching this on replay, most people are choosing to watch it at a time that works from them, which is the whole point of doing it like this. And the whole point of people with bendy brains being able to access things how they want. I've had some lovely messages today as people have watched last night's video, commenting on things or asking me about things. That's brilliant. If you watch this at a later time and you think, oh, I don't really get that, or I just want some clarity on that, then just email me. That's absolutely fine. That's what people have done today. I've had a couple of messages about different things from yesterday, or how things work, or what order to do things in. That's absolutely fine. Just send me a message and I will keep you up to date on I will answer your questions, if you like, in real time as I can get. So depending on what I'm doing, I will get to it as quickly as possible. But it does mean that you don't have to be doing this alongside with me, but you can have me on in the background. I have to be completely honest, if this was me doing it and I was following somebody else, I'd probably have me on at double speed because I very, very rarely watch anything at the speed it's supposed to be at. So if that works for you, then that's absolutely great. And I will either try and talk really slowly so that you speed me up, or I'll try and talk really fast and then you won't be able to understand a word I say because it's fun. Anyway, I will move on from that and put my sensible head back on. Tonight we are looking at day 2. So you will have had your email this morning that again had your chat GPT prompts in it, and it also had your printables in there as well. So your printables, if you haven't looked at them so far, it's a 2-pager today. So we're all talking about the Juggling Act today. So there's this one and one that looks like this, which obviously you can print off, or you can write on GoodNotes or something, or you can just use them as prompts if you want to, or you might not use them at all. You might just read them and think, okay, I get the gist, I can do that separately. And then you have the chat GPT prompt, which this is the whole blurb that we're going to copy and paste tonight into chat GPT to help us, if that's how you want to work. And again, last night I did mention it, that there is a second page to those sheets that I've put on all week in case you haven't used chat GPT before particularly, and it gives you a little bit more information and lets you know exactly how things work on there. Okay. Let me just get rid of that. So tonight we are looking at the juggle and simplifying the juggle, because running a house is juggling, isn't it? Running a household, a family, anything that you're having to organise, work and home, is all about juggling. It's all about things up in the air and making sure that you keep all the balls going and you don't drop them on the way. And we do drop them on the way. And we talked a bit last night about the fact that there's lots of shoulds. You should be doing this. You should push through. You should. And how that doesn't necessarily work if you are bendy-brained, let's put it that way. And you keep pushing and you keep pushing and you keep pushing, and eventually you're going to fall down a hole. So the whole point of these 3 days is to simplify it in your brain in a way that will make sure that you can achieve what you want to achieve, and just takes the pressure off, takes the overwhelm out of the equation. Okay. So one thing I will say is, if you are doing the ChatGPT route, which I think really does help, and I think if you haven't used it a lot before, it's definitely worth using for things like this, because I find it just, I don't use it as my voice to rewrite things for me, but I do use it to help simplify my life. I use that a lot, and I find that really, really useful. So that's quite handy. But if you are using ChatGPT tonight, just continue on the same conversation that you opened last night. So go back to wherever the conversation was. If you haven't had one since, it will be the top one on the left-hand side. It will be the top one. It will have called it something sensible as to what you were talking about last night. It could call it the wrap-up strategy. Let's see what it did call mine. Mine, it called it the not this year list, because that was the last thing that we talked about in that conversation. So go back and add on to that conversation. Don't start a new one. If you do start a new one, it's not the end of the world. It just means you're going to have to explain more again. If you carry on in the same conversation with ChatGPT, it will be able to access what's already gone on in that conversation, and it can build on what you've done already. Okay, so a quick swig of water. If you pop on live, give me a hello, and then I can see that you're here. If you watch later, feel free to stick a hashtag replay in, and then I know that you've been around. Okay, so juggling and simplifying. Again, I'm just going to do a very quick little blurb and spiel at you, and then we will go into working alongside each other and doing it at the same time. The whole point of these 3 nights is that you're not then doing lots afterwards. It's all contained within this time. Okay. Hi, Karen. I like your little pink wave. That's cool. I've not seen that before. I like that. It's a little pink hand waving. Okay. So yesterday, you should have been able to come out of yesterday with your star priorities. So I don't know if you remember, at the end of yesterday, we had this tree, and we decided that we would choose 2, a home and a business priority before Christmas. So those are your star priorities. If you wanted another one to those, then that's absolutely up to you. But 2 priorities. So they could be fairly big things. They could be, well, they could be whatever you like. I'm not going to say anymore because I don't want to guide you, because this is all about you and it needs to be personal to you. We also talked about the things that you're going to let go. So for now, at least, things that you're going to just park or leave to one side, or maybe just throw out with the bathwater completely and just think, oh, stuff it, I'm not going to do that anymore. It was important when I thought about it. I did think this was going to be something I was going to run with. But actually, the longer it's gone on, I've changed. I've thought differently. This is not what I want to do. Don't be afraid to do those things as well, and pivot slightly. Do a friends with the sofa pivot, but that's fine. You can do that. Okay. So these are things that you're parking, that you know now that you're just going to leave, at least for the moment. Think about it again after Christmas and then review. And 2 things probably that you're going to prioritize before Christmas. That's where we got to last night. If those things haven't been crystallized in your brain yet, I would recommend that you pause and you go back to look at what we talked about last night, back to look at the information that you made notes of or that you did on AI, and you absolutely solidify those things before we carry on. Okay, that would make your life much easier. All right, so those are the important things that we are talking about tonight. Last night was all about looking back and reviewing. Tonight's all about looking forward. So the juggling act, I mean, it could be anything, couldn't it? We all have the juggling act, no matter what our home circumstances, no matter what our personal circumstances. We're all juggling so many things. And I think life now is just really, really busy, no matter who you are, what your circumstances are, whether you have 10 children or whether you live on your own, you're still juggling lots of things. And as they always say, ask a busy person. If you want something done, ask a busy person, because that's how it gets done. But it's true, isn't it? And that's how you end up being kind of led down these dead ends and thinking, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Why can't somebody else do this? It's because you've always said yes, and because you're capable and good and able to do these things competently and well, and then you get asked to do it, and then that becomes your role, and then everybody expects it. And those are the things that we're kind of trying to break away from. So there are lots of things on here. Family and business are the two big ones, but I've put on fun and self-care as well, because those are the things that just get lost along the way, aren't they? And especially at Christmas, fun is really important. Fun is important any day, I have to say, but fun, make sure that is in there. And self-care, which again is something that we all just kind of push to one side. So the things I've had this lady juggling are obviously the laptop just represents business and represents your work. The lunchbox is children at school, potentially school children, high school children, college, university, wherever they are. If you've got kids and you're organising things, that's a big thing. I've put the bottle on, which is obviously a baby bottle. I do have quite a few business owners that I work with who are actually grandparents and look after the baby, so babies who are preschool age, and have them kind of 1 or 2 days a week on a regular basis, and that really cuts into their time. And obviously they love doing it, they adore having the little ones, they adore having their grandchildren, but it's something that you need to juggle as well, is having those. The pill pots are kind of there to represent, it could be older parents that you're now in more of a caring role, that you're looking after. It could also be your medical health as well. Medical health? I'm not sure what else. It's medical health, isn't it? Anyway, your health could also affect you. If you have a chronic disease, then some days you might be really tired, it might be really difficult, it might be hard to get going. Some days you might have more energy. So those are things that we need to kind of take into account as well tonight. And the fan represents the menopause because it's one aspect, I know, but for me it's an important aspect. So the fan is there just to represent that whole brain fog, losing words, losing time, aching body, hot, just the whole shebang, which is just horrific, isn't it? So that's what that is. So all of those things are there, and we juggle. We just juggle. That's just what we do, isn't it? We just keep going and we keep all the balls in the air. So tonight's focus, what we want to absolutely focus down on tonight, are the things that must be done. So yes, we've got our 2 priorities that we really want to focus on, we want to get done by Christmas. But there are certain things that you have to do. There are certain things that every year you have to do. You might have to, I don't know, you might need to make sure you've bought Christmas presents. That's something you have to do every year, because if you go to Christmas Day and you haven't bought them, then it's too late, isn't it? So that's something that must be done. It could be filling in some documentation that you have to do and you know that you have to do it. It could be, for example, my car's due a service next month. So that's something that I must do next month and sort its MOT out. Otherwise, I won't have a car to drive. So there are lots of things that must be done. Invoicing in work, you might have to make sure all your invoicing is done and up to date. All those things are the must be done things, as well as these priorities. You can't get away from the little nitty gritty stuff that you have to do each week or each month. Family priorities, obvious. They could be priorities that are common every week. They could be priorities that, for example, when I was caring for my mum, I used to make sure that I cooked her meals on the weekend, and then I would drive down, because she was about an hour away from us. I would drive down on the Monday and I would put her meals in the freezer for the week. So that was something I had to do. Otherwise, she would be hungry. She would just eat, well, she would eat cheese and apples, to be fair, and be quite happy about that. But they were priorities that you had to do. Hi, Sue, no worries. So family priorities, it could also be, there'll be dates if you have children away at college or uni where you have to go and collect them for Christmas potentially. They're things that happen all the time. They could be things that are specific to this time of year. If you're then thinking, if you break that down again to the next step, we're thinking about timing for each week. So is there something that you do every day? No, every week on a certain day, like me taking my food down to my mum when she was in her house still, and taking her frozen food down on a Monday, making sure she had her dinners for the week. Is there something that you do one particular day each week? It could be networking. You have a networking session that you do. I do networking on a Wednesday morning, and that is blocked out every week. So that's really important. So that needs to go in tonight. That needs to be mentioned. Helping hands, I think this is a really hard one, and I think it's something that we're really bad at, especially as women. I don't know whether I'm just speaking for myself, but there are definitely things that you can get help with. And yes, there's help in terms of things like, hiring a VA and having somebody do your emails and that kind of thing. But there's also people around you that can help. There could be, let's talk about family first. So in terms of family, it could be that you go to the family and say, look, I'm going to be really busy for these 2 weeks or these 3 weeks, particularly running up to Christmas, because I've got this big project I want to do. I've got this target that I want to get this big thing done before Christmas. And these 3 weeks I've blocked out that are going to be really busy. During those 3 weeks, please can you take on the laundry? Can you make sure that you do the food shop? I'll help you, I'll organise it, but can you make sure you do it? So, kind of the nitty gritty, that kind of thing. But also it could be in terms of business. It could be that there are other small business owners that will, I was going to say job share, and I don't mean job share, that will swap things that they do. That's really, really badly explained. My brain is very foggy today and my words are not good. But what I mean is there might be a skill swap. That's what I mean. See, I get there in the end. I love the menopause. There might be somebody who will do a skill swap with you. So somebody who really likes writing blogs, and you can give them the information. And you might think, actually, I really like taking photos for autumn that they can use on Reels, or that, whatever it happens to be, there might be somebody else that you can swap with. So it's worth thinking about. It's worth thinking who you can ask for support, and it's not a bad thing to ask for support. And then the last thing tonight that we're going to look at is anything that's nice to have, things that would be nice to have. But if they drop off the list, if they don't happen, it's not the end of the world. And it's worth thinking about that now, because otherwise you build it up and build it up and build it up in your head. I remember when I was still teaching, and before I had my daughter, before I had Lou, I always made Christmas cakes at October half term. So I would make the Christmas cake, and then I would feed it with sherry up to Christmas and ice them just before Christmas. So October half term was when I made the cakes. I always made one for me, one for my brother, one for my parents. That was kind of the rule. And then the first year I was a mum, and I had Lou in May. So by the Christmas I was back at school. Life was quite different and quite busy and quite hectic. And the juggling had really started with a very small baby. And I built this thing up in my head so much. I always do the Christmas cakes. I always make the Christmas cakes. I've got to do the Christmas cakes. I must do them. It's October half term. I should be able to find time to do them. I've got to do it. And actually, who cares? A homemade Christmas cake is lovely, but you can buy a really nice Christmas cake, which took me a long time to work out. It took me till Lou was about 5 to work out that actually just stuff the Christmas cake. Just buy a Marks and Spencer's Christmas cake. And now that she's much older, when she got into her teens, she'd help me make the Christmas cake and we'd do it and it was lovely. But it's one of those things that's nice to have. And if you decide beforehand, okay, this is on the nice to have list, then it doesn't build up into that massive thing in your head. And you get to the point and think, oh, I've got to do it. I've really got to do it. You already know it's nice to have, but it's not the end of the world. So it falls off. It's okay. All right. So those are the things we're going to be looking at tonight. Those are the things I want to keep you in your head. As always, what I would say is, as you go through ChatGPT and you follow the prompt through and you answer the questions, the more information you can give, the better. The more content, the more detail that you can give, the better. And don't be afraid to tweak what I've said, to change it slightly, to rewrite it slightly, or to say, no, I don't agree with that. Can I rewrite that? Or can I, stop? Can I give you more information? I don't like this. Or that's what it's there for. It's a computer. It's AI. You're not going to offend it. Just keep going back and doing different iterations. Make it good for you. Okay. So underneath here, there is the blurb that's all about the video that you're watching tonight. Within that blurb, I have copied the ChatGPT prompt, which last night I was very lax in doing, and I thought I could do it while I was online. And you can't, it turns out. It is there now. So tonight's is definitely under there, so you can just copy and paste it. Sue, I know you arrived late. I'm hoping it's making sense as you go. I don't know if you've watched last night's already, or you've gone through the ChatGPT prompt for last night. I think it's probably worth doing that first, just so you know, because then you will look back. Last night was all about looking back and reviewing and identifying what your 2 priorities are for going up to Christmas, so that tonight we can build on those things. Okay, so I am going to share my screen as I have done before. Here we go. That's a quick flash of me. Okay, so this was the end of last night. I'm trying to scroll up on the wrong screen. I've got another screen over here, so apologise that I'm not looking at you. So this was what we did last night. So if you haven't done last night's, it might be worth, I don't know if you have your ChatGPT prompt that was emailed out to you yesterday, it might be worth copying and pasting yesterday's and doing that tonight while we're doing this, because you can probably catch up that way and answer last night's as well, if that helps. Otherwise, feel free to do this, but you'll kind of be working slightly backwards. But if it makes sense to you, then that's absolutely fine. So I am going to go to tonight's video, go to the bottom there, and it says ChatGPT prompt. Can you help me create a simple festive season priority map so I know what to focus on without burning out? I've identified the 2 areas that I want to focus on, one in business and one personal. Here are some areas I'd like to reflect on: business priorities, personal commitments, energy levels, support, nice to haves. Please guide me gently with questions in each area, one at a time, and help me sort my answers into 3 buckets: must do, nice to do, and let go. At the end, give me a simple visual summary of my priorities so I feel clear and in control. Okay, so that's what I'm going to copy and come back on here, and then that's what I'm going to post into there. Okay. And then exactly as we did last night, what I'm going to do now is shut up, which I'm sure everybody will be very relieved about, and work through this myself. That's the whole point of this, that we can work through it together. The thing I really hate is when you do some training, when you go to training and you do something and you listen and you try and take notes and you carry on, and then afterwards you think, right, I've now got to find half an hour or an hour to get that done. So I'd much rather do it while we're here and we can work alongside each other and do it all together. It's so much easier, isn't it? So if you have appeared tonight and you haven't caught up on last night's, it's worth using the ChatGPT prompts from last night if you've got them on you. If they are there, I can't paste them in. Sorry, I had that problem last night. While I'm online, I can't paste them because they're too long. But they're under last night's video and on the email that came out yesterday. And I am going to work through mine. I'm going to work through each question as we go. So to start with, it's talking about my business priorities and the final 12 weeks of the year. What's my one business project that I want to work on? Okay, so that's where it started. So that's what we needed to identify last night, is one business and one personal. So I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to work through this and let everyone carry on working on your own time so that we can all do it. I will be click-clacking away on the keys, so I apologise for that. I've got a very loud keyboard, but I will also keep an eye on the questions. So if you have any questions or you need to know anything, just stick it in the questions in the comments bit and I will see it and I will answer. Okay, so I'm going to get on with this. I'll let you get on and I will talk to you probably 15 minutes, maybe. We'll see how long it takes. Okay. How are you getting on? Have you managed to work your way through those? I have answered all the questions. I've got to the end, and then at the end, it has offered me, you can see there, it says, would you like me to turn this into a visual one-page map, like a colourful chart or a mind map style PDF? So it's given me broken down. So as I've gone through, I've answered, and it's kind of under each answer, it's kind of set that out again and solidified what I've said, so that I can read it through and think, yes, that's right, or then I can argue and say, actually, no, that's not quite right, and change it. And then it's put everything together at the end into a festive season priority map, which is what I asked it to do. And it's given me my must-dos, my nice-to-dos, and my let-go at the end, which is great. And then when it's asked if we want to turn this into a visual one-page map, I've said yes, just so that you can see what it does, because it's not usually very good at doing these things. It's a little bit, you could do it yourself, probably much easier, but I thought it'd be interesting to see. So my festive priority map that it created, let's see, hello, let's share screen. This is what it's created. So not exactly the most exciting priority map ever, but it's got a must do, nice to do, festive priority map, and then at the bottom, let go. So basically it's just put 3 colours on. So not exactly thrilling, but there we go. So that's what it's done for that one. And then if I come back over onto this screen, the other thing it offered to do, which again I said yes, just to see what it was so that you can have a look, is a festive priority chart. And it's just put it into a list and put the colours at the top. So it's not great at doing these bits, but it has given the information. You've got that information in whichever format you want, and you can download it, or you can just keep it in the conversation as is. So let me just stop screen for the moment. Okay, how have you got on if you have been doing it with me? How have you managed? Have you answered all the questions? Have you worked out? Did you have your 2 things ready at the beginning to be able to explain? Have you managed to answer all the questions on here? Now, with the handout that came out today, the printable that came out today, this is the second page. Now, if you want to use that, you're more than welcome. I know at least one person will use it on GoodNotes on their iPad, so you can just write on there if you want to, or it's just something that you can use as an aid memoir if you like. But by the end of tonight, what I'm hoping you've got is your must-dos, your nice-to-dos, and your let-it-go lists. Okay, so your must-do list may look quite long. Okay, so your ChatGPT is all done for the day. It's tired. It's late. Leave it alone. Okay, so when you get some extra ChatGPT time, if it runs out of time, it will tell you that it needs a rest, and then you can go back to it if anybody is coming across that. And yeah, just go and finish that off when you get the chance. You might find that your must-do list is looking longer than all the others, because they always do, don't they? That's fine. Don't worry about it. Tomorrow, what we will do is we will talk about the plan, the wrap-up plan. So tomorrow we're going to take all this information that we've gathered. We're going to look at the things that we must do and the things that are nice to do, and we're going to start putting them into a proper plan and into almost like a timetable, into a calendar, and working out, okay, if I think I've got this many weeks, what do I need to do in each week to get this finished at the end, to get it done? How long is this going to take me? So by the end of tomorrow, you will have a proper plan that you can look at and think, okay, I'm now in week 4. Let me have a look. Week 4, I need to do these things. Okay. that's what I can do. Week 5, I need to do these things. So you have a proper plan and proper targets as you go along. For tomorrow, the only things I need you to think about are when you want to finish for Christmas, which is a lovely thing to think about. You might decide that you want to finish the week before. I don't know, actually. I'm just going to look on my calendar. December. Christmas Day is a Thursday. So you might decide you want to finish the Friday before, which is the 19th. Or you might decide that you want to actually finish the Monday or the Wednesday or whenever. It's completely up to you. But look tomorrow and decide when you want to have your Christmas break from business and when you want to have everything finished for family as well, all the organisational stuff done. So that then you can count back and you know whether you have 10, 11 or 12 weeks to play with. Because when you're asking it to then break down things into what I do when, you need to be able to say, okay, I have 11 weeks. I need to work out, can you spread this out between 11 weeks so I know what my plan is? Okay. So if you're asking it to do it over 12 weeks and then you look at it and you think, actually, I want to go on holiday then. I want to have half term off completely, not do anything. And I want to finish then. That's 10 weeks. And now I've asked it to do a 12-week plan. And I've got 2 weeks where I can't fit it all in. So that's something you need to look at. The other thing that would be really useful tomorrow is have your calendar or your diary with you, and any dates that you already know, anything that you already know will happen, you can make a note of as well. So the things that are already plugged in. So if you wanted to take half-term week off, for example, in October, or if you knew you were going away for a long weekend, so you'd have Monday and Friday off, so you'd have 2 weeks, which were 4-day weeks. Or it could be, I mean, things that you would know without even looking is if you work part-time and you work 3 days a week, then you've got 2 days a week to work. Or if you work full-time, you might think, well, actually, I only want to give my business, my side business in that case, I only want to give it 3 evenings a week. So you'd need to think about that beforehand and think about how much time you've got to be able to allot to this. That's all the thinking that you need to do between now and tomorrow. And then tomorrow we will put it all into a plan, and you will have your 10, 11 or 12 weeks with what you're going to be doing each of those weeks, and you will come away with your plan, okay, with some absolute clarity of what you've got to do. I hope that's helped. I hope it's been okay. If, like Karen, your ChatGPT has run out for the day, if you've used up your allotment, then just keep an eye on where you are and go back to it and make sure you finish that off. It doesn't take very much. The whole point of these prompts is I've kept them fairly simple, fairly short, so that if you don't quite manage to finish it, it shouldn't be too much to be able to go back and just finish off the last bit. Hopefully, that's my plan. That's my hope for it. So I will be back here tomorrow at 7 o'clock, and we will create a plan going forward so that you know exactly what you're doing. Any questions, as always, just shout, and I will help you with anything I can do, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.